Bill Peterson, Baylor men's basketball staff with Scott Drew and company, has a resume that's very much deep into the NBA, and tomorrow the NBA draft. And, of course, Jeremy Sochan, who we discussed quite a bit earlier today, and Kendall Brown are a part of that as well. Bill joins us on Sic'Em 365 Radio. Coach, thanks very much. Anytime we can get your knowledge on the show, it makes us smarter. So, yeah.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Hey, you too. Now, at the beginning of the year, it looked like Kendall Brown was the lottery pick and Jeremy Sochan would be drafted if he entered the draft, and it's kind of flipped. Is that because Jeremy is a kind of like a Swiss Army knife with what he did his freshman year?
Very, very much so, and it's Jeremy really progressed from the standpoint of, the NBA's become like a switchable league that wants guys that are big and can play a lot of different positions. And Jeremy showed that he can handle the ball, he can knock down a three, he can initiate an offense, whereas Kendall is more of a traditional wing that runs the floor and attacks the rim. And Jeremy's versatility really helped him to move up the draft board.
How much do NBA teams look at a player's individual situation during the year, where you mentioned being switchable? At first, I mean, I know you guys kind of had him in that role, but then because of injuries in your situation, he was kind of forced to do that. And the minute he was kind of forced into that position, he excelled.
Yeah. I mean, you look at different situations where he switched out on guards, he switched on bigs, and then something that really helped him. When we played Kansas here and we beat Kansas, Scott actually played him at the 5 in the second half of the game, and he just wore them out. David McCormick couldn't stay in front of him, and Coach Sell put a little guard on him, I think Abaji, and he took Abaji down the mid-post and scored over him. He was just a terror to deal with. They couldn't guard him because he could play all over the floor, and different people were guarding him. And he became a mismatch nightmare because how he played. And he was initiating there. He was bringing the ball up. He was initiating the offense. He could dribble handoff. He could set a ball screen. And because he showed his versatility, that just helped him immensely, that people look at him and go, wow, those are the kind of guys we're looking at for in the NBA.
Because of his life, of where he has been and what he's experienced, that doesn't mean you got to, automatically you're going to be an NBA or a pro, but how much does his travel, so many different things he's experienced in his life help him once he gets to the NBA?
Helps him a lot from the standpoint of, first off, he played on the national men's team of Poland, and he started a game for them at 17 years old. And in the game he played, he had like 17 or 18 points, but more than that, he was playing against and with guys that were 33, 34, 35 years old. So they were European pros. So he's been around some older players, and he knows how to conduct himself, and he understands how to play. He's very, very sharp basketball IQ-wise, and he understands making the extra pass, and he understands initiating offense quickly and not to hold the ball or find the mismatch, whereas a lot of younger guys don't get that. They want to dribble and make their own move. He fits seamlessly, effortlessly into a real good team situation, and he's a guy that will be able to fit into any team he goes to offensively because he understands ball movement, spacing, and attacking the rim. He just has a great feel for the game.
Any player that you get that might be a one and done, I know that there's, always kind of a ticking clock in the coach's head, but when you have somebody like Jeremy that maybe you didn't really lean that way when the season started, was the Kansas game where you started to get like, oh, this is over 50%. We're probably not going to see him as sophomore year at Baylor?
I think that was a little bit of a tipping point, the Kansas game. But then, probably the first time that me personally saw something like that was when we were in the Bahamas and we played Michigan State in the championship game. And the first half he didn't play very good. And at halftime, me and Jared Nunes kind of chided him a little bit about, you're being soft. You're not playing hard enough. And, you're not going to be a wuss like that. You're better than that, okay? In the second half, Michigan State was good and physical. They had 3 guys, 6'9" or bigger, strong bodies. They're good on the glass. In the second half, he just dominated. He got traffic rebounds. He got a couple three-point plays. He had a beautiful finish on one of their big guys. He blocked a shot. And I started to go, wow, this kid's 18 years old, and we're just starting. He's just scratching how good he could be. If he just continues to do that, he's going to have a great opportunity. And then obviously, Villanova and Kansas and some of those other big games we played, just helped him to continue to do that. And then as the season went on, scouts would call and come watch, and they'd say, I think he's getting tougher. He's tougher. And then I had a guy call me last week and say, I know you guys got beat by North Carolina, but in the Carolina game, Manick nailed him with that elbow. And he said he popped right up and got after it the next play. He didn't lay on the ground. He didn't pout. He didn't ask out. He just kept competing. We love that. And that's some of the development and maturity you saw from him throughout the year.
I know he was only on campus really for a short amount of time when all was said and done, and you guys got to know him throughout the recruiting process, but what was that time like, having him on the team and getting to know him even more so as a person? Maybe what are some things that stood out during that process?
He's a great kid. He's a very effervescent personality, really upbeat. Doesn't come into gym very often with his head down. He's a gregarious person. He really likes guys on his team, and he likes the team atmosphere. John Jacobs, recruited him, and our whole staff did a good job working with him and teaching him, and Scott putting him in different situations to be successful. But little things stand out as you see it go on. Here's an 18-year-old kid, and he gets hurt at TCU and doesn't play for a couple games in a row. And we look over in the huddle one night, we're playing, and we're meeting as a coaching staff during a timeout. He's in the huddle, and he's telling everybody what we need to do, all right? And he's 18 years old. You just don't expect that from a freshman. And he's telling them good things. He's telling them smart things because he understands the game, and that's just something you just don't normally see a freshman do. And then on top of it, you don't see guys that will listen to him, all right? I mean, you'd say, he's just popping off. But, I can remember the moment distinctly. I can't remember the game, and I turned over and looked over there, and he's telling them what to do, and all 10 eyes, all 5 guys are, focused on him. They're peering at him, looking at him, and they're all listening to him, what he's saying. So that tells you right there he's got some respect and, a command of presence to be able to play at a higher level with good players, even though he's still a young kid.
Now, obviously, Kendall Brown is a little bit more soft-spoken, at least on the outside, to people who get to see it. But he is one of those kind of natural athletes that, again, like you said with Jeremy, is just kind of scratching the surface. I know that the buzz on him has gone down in the NBA draft, but if he finds the right situation, how fast can his star rise if he's in the right spot?
The biggest thing for Kendall is if he gets in the right situation. He's an elite level athlete. As soon as he gets in the NBA, he's in the top 2% because how he runs and jumps and how he can move his feet. He worked very, very hard here, diligently, to get his left hand better. He can go right or left with the ball. When he came here, he couldn't. He was predominantly a right-hand driver, a pull-up jump shooter. Now he can go to the left. He can go in and out. He can use his left and make a layup. He can do different things. He's a good mid-range jump shooter. He's still working on his three. He spent hours and hours in the gym working on his form and his shot. It's gotten way better. You can't teach what he has. So eventually, as he matures, I tell scouts all the time, he's 18. He just turned 19 in May. You come back and look at him, how's he going to be when he's 22? Think about him 2 or 3 years down the road because he isn't going to get more unathletic. He isn't going to get slower, and he's not going to shoot worse. He's going to get better in all those areas. And he is more of a quiet kid, but he's one of those kids if he's on the right team and they got a veteran guy that puts his arm around him, he's a guy that could really, really have an impact on the team pretty quick. I mean, not I don't think this year right away, but in a year or two, I could definitely see him being a rotation guy on a good playoff team because of his ability to guard, to run the floor, and, to make plays for others. It's just if he gets the opportunity with the right situation.
Bill, the NBA draft is short. It's 2 rounds. It seems like about the time somebody's introduced with a cap on their head, they've already been traded.
And they're not wearing the right cap. Yeah.
What is that like on draft? We see the NFL, the war rooms or whatever, but you've been around. You were a part of the league. What is that like in a lot of ways?
When I was in Milwaukee and I got to be in the draft room, it was an exciting night, especially when you had a pick in the first round and you felt like you could get someone that could impact your team. For me and for a lot of the other guys in our organization with the Bucks, we'd have a pick, but we never had a really high pick when I was there. We never had in the top 10. We were always outside the top 10. So you're always looking if we can find a right piece of the right fit. But then also it comes down to, how good is the system you have in place, the scouts and the coaches, and how much are they on the same page together? Can we find a gem in the second round? Can we find somebody that maybe other people don't look at the right way? And there's certain organizations that are really good at that. And during my time in Milwaukee, we drafted a kid from UCLA named Luke Valmutek. And he went to 3 Final Fours, and we drafted him 36th. And the guy we took in the first round from West Virginia, Joe Alexander, ended up being not a very good player. And Luke played 11 years in the NBA, became a defensive stalwart. So you look for certain characteristics. And like the Pelicans did a great job last year. They drafted Herb Jones from Alabama, I think at number 31 or 32. And he ended up starting on a playoff team, because, he's more mature. He's a great defender. It's exciting to sit in that room and see on that board as you get to your pick in the second round to find maybe a diamond in the rough or a gem, a guy that would really fit your system or fulfill a certain need, all right, that'll help you and your team. I mean, it's neat, and you sit in there and they'll come in all of a sudden, and all of a sudden the GM will say, oh, so-and-so just traded for this spot. That means they're moving up to take this guy. I mean, and, different things unravel, and you got to be prepared for different scenarios. And, they'll have 3 or 4 guys at this slot. So, hey, we just, so-and-so just traded. We got number 54, and we got 3 guys in mind at 54. And if 2 of them get taken, then you're left with the last guy right there. But a lot of it's on how much homework you've done and what kind of person you drafted. What kind of kid is it? Is he a guy that's a worker? Is he a gym rat? Is he a guy that can pick things up? And if you've done your intel right, you could make something great happen in the 2 rounds you have.
Bill, this may sound like kind of out of left field, but have you seen the new Adam Sandler movie Hustle?
No, I have not. A couple of friends of mine have called me and said, man, you got to go see Hustle. You got to go see Hustle, man. You'll love it. You'll love it.
I was curious from your perspective of kind of having lived the life of the character in the movie, what you would have thought of it. So it's very good. It's one of his best. I'll tell you that. And I've seen them all.
I tell you, there's a movie I watch all the time, and I tell you, our young guys who recruit, there's an old site that shows you how old I am, okay? I'm going to go way back. There's a baseball movie called Trouble with the Curve.
Oh,
and Clint Eastwood is in it, okay? Mm-hmm. And he is an old scout who's losing his vision. And there's a couple lines in there just great. And they make fun of him and all that kind of stuff. He can't hardly see. And he said, how do you know this guy was good? He said, I didn't see it. I could hear it. Okay, I could hear it. When you've been around the game so long, there's certain things that you look for. And when old scouts come in here and visit with me, I know what they're looking for. Like we had a guy come in last year from Denver. He's 84 years old. His name's Herb Livesey. And he goes to 4 or 5 different schools, and he comes to Baylor. And he stays here for 4 days and watches every practice. We have a GA go pick him up, and he's done this for years. And he'll tell you certain little things he looks for that nobody else looks for at all. And that's the life of a scout and how they're, figuring out these little things that can help them judge a guy to whether he's going to be really successful or not in a pro position.
How much, besides the obvious, if Jeremy is a lottery pick, and it appears as if he will be, but it's, who knows, and Kendall, of course, drafted whenever that might be, how much can you continue to just gain momentum from that as a program, whether it's Baylor or anyone else, when you have guys going to the NBA? And plus, some of the guys going to the NBA for you, they're doing well as well.
Yes. I mean, Scott's done a great job of transforming our culture. And, we have good quality, high character kids. And, we look, it's no secret, we look for gym rats. We look for guys that love to be in the gym. Because if you have guys that love to be in the gym to hone their craft, they're going to get better. Whereas if you have to drag him in there all the time and beg him to work out, it's going to be a lot tougher, even if they're talented. And some of these young kids that we've gotten are kids that love to be in the gym, and they're coming here because our program has gotten to the point where they know they have a chance to play for a championship. We have a chance to go to the Final Four and play for an NCAA championship, and then we're going to have an opportunity to play professionally too, because of how Baylor runs their program and the kind of people they have in their program.
Bill, thank you for the knowledge, man. Appreciate it. I couldn't think of anybody else. I know that everyone on staff is a major part of what's happened with these young men and others that have been drafted, others who will be drafted. But with your experience, we appreciate it. Thank you, and have a great day.
Thank you. Thanks for having me on, guys. Have a good night.
Bill Peterson, Baylor men's basketball, has been a part of the NBA, Mavericks in Milwaukee. Many years, was with the Mavericks for just 3 years, Milwaukee for about 7 as an assistant coach, player development. with the Mavericks, and his thoughts on both Jeremy Sochan and Kendall Brown as well. We've got a segment or two to get to a couple of